Hello everyone, my name is Honest Abe and this is a fairly new channel for trading cards, specifically Lorcana cards at the moment. I'm actually doing this video to show you guys how I go about sending in my cards for grading and the inspection that I do. I know a lot of people are looking into grading cards at the moment, whether it be Pokemon or Lorcana, One Piece. Pretty much is the same inspection that you're doing for any card. So I figured I'd do a live, or not a live, I figured I'd do a YouTube video because I've been sending in cards for a long time now, and I'm pretty good at spotting the PSA 10s typically. And I wanted to do a video to show you guys my process and how I score PSA 10s. For a quick example, I just got a few cards back myself from PSA. So like this Enchanted Naveen I got a 10 on, I'll Let It Go I got a 10 on, a Arceus from Pokemon 10, a Charizard 10, Marshadow 10, a 9 on our Dialga, a 9 on a Rayquaza, and a 9 on a Mirabelle, which I think should have got a 10, but oh, here's a Dragonfire promo as well, PSA 10. So I did pretty good. I think I had 3 9s out of that submission, which was all right. The bigger cards got 10, so I was happy with that. But what I'm doing here in front of you, what you could see is I'm doing inspections on these cards that are from the North American Continentals that just happened, what, about a month ago maybe? So I'm looking to send a few of these in if they look good enough to get graded, so I can try to get some PSA 10s on these. So I'm kind of in the middle of doing it. I just started recording, but just to show you, like, I have a little pile here on the right that is PSA 10 candidates that I think could be candidates for PSA 10. And I'm going to show you guys why I think that, right? So with this card in particular, the first thing I look at is the centering. And the centering is basically how well the card's image is centered, or on the back, centering of the logo, right? So the way you tell what good centering looks like is I look at the border. If you look at the border of the card, that's the outside. Sometimes one side is a lot more thicker than the other. This is a really good example of what the border should look like. It's very well centered. You can see the borders are even from left to right and from top to bottom. They are pretty even, and that's what you want. On the front side of the card, these are tough to gauge the centering, but the way you do look at the centering here is the bottom has a little border here and a little border here. You should be able to see it. But because this is a full art card, there's no border on the top right and top left, and at the top, very top, there's no border, or the bottom actually. It's not really a border. So that's where you see the border on these full art cards, or just that little bottom left, bottom right. And I don't know if I'm doing a good job of showing this, but this one looks pretty good. Could be slightly thicker on the left, but I'm willing to take a chance on this one because it looks good enough. But the back looks very, very well centered. So I have this little pile here on the right to what I think is good enough to send in, and then my left pile over here is stuff that I'm probably not going to send in. So this is where we are. We have a Cusco next, so we'll look at the Cusco, right? Let's see if I can get this in the camera. As you can see, same thing. You can only see the border from the very bottom right and the very bottom left on these full art cards. This one looks okay on the front. Looks pretty well centered. And then you flip over. Also be very careful. Typically people use gloves. I don't. I never have, and I've never really had a problem. As long as your hands aren't like super oily, I think you'll be fine. And what you want to do also, once you know the centering is good, which centering on this looks pretty good, I like to shine the card in direct light because you can see if there are any surface scratches. That's going to be the next thing you want to look for, is how well the surface looks. Are there any like blemishes? Are there any scratches? Any dents? This card, the backside looks phenomenal, so no issues there. Front side, get the light directly on it. No issues there either. This one looks really good. So centering on the front looks good, centering on the back looks good. The surface looks pretty good. This one actually, the centering on, so the border on the right is a little bit thicker than the border on the left, if you can kind of see that. Very, very, very slightly. And I typically still take the chance when there's such a slight difference, because PSA will let it slide sometimes. If it's a very, very little difference, you'll be okay. The other thing outside of surface and centering you want to look for is the corners. That's one thing that they'll grade as well. They look at the corners to see, you know, how sharp the corners are, if there's any whiting on the corners, because sometimes if they get like hit a certain way, they'll have little bits of whiting. Let's see if I can get this to focus. No whiting on these corners. I'll see if I can find a card with some whiting though that I can show you, that you would not want to send in, because if the corners are chipped up or whiting, it's probably going to get a 9 or below. So this one looks pretty good though overall. Now that I'm looking at it twice though, the centering is a little, this camera won't really focus. There we go, it's kind of focused there. The centering is a little bit thicker on the left side here than the right side. So because I have a few Cuscos, I probably will put this in the do not send pile, but only because I have a few to choose from. So I really want to get just the best ones and send those. Here's a Baymax. Centering on the front looks good. The surface, let's see if we can get the light on it. The surface on most of these should be mint, because these came directly from the United States Continental Championship event, so there's no middleman here. You can see how clean that is on the back. Centering looks really good. So I would probably send something in like this. The corners are sharp. Surface looks good. Centering looks good. The edges is the last thing I didn't talk about. So like the edge of the cards, sometimes they'll have like marks or nicks, or some kind of bends. Like you have to look at the edges too. But typically if the card is like brand new or fresh out of the pack, the edges should be all right. But yeah, you do want to look at all of that. But this one's pretty good. I'd probably put this in the pile of send off to get graded, because this one is really good. Let's see. This was my pile of do not send, so maybe I can show you one of these for a do not send, because sometimes the centering is way off, and I wish I had a really good example of that, but these are minor. The centering is off on this one from right to left, but it's minor. It's very minor. And I'm being picky with which ones I want to send, because I have a few to choose from. So, but typically, if you look at the backs of all of your Lorcana cards or Pokemon, whatever, you can find some that are very, very heavily off-centered that you would not want to send to PSA. But yeah, that's pretty much what you want to look for when sending off cards to get graded. I still have a few of these to go through, and maybe I do some kind of like live stream when I start doing more grading submissions, where you guys can actually follow along and see my whole process. But I just wanted to do a quick video of like what I look for as far as like the centering the surface, the corners, the edges, before I send stuff off. So that's a very general explanation, but hopefully you guys got something out of this. And if you have any questions for me, drop them in the comments. If I missed anything, there's a whole separate video I could make about how you ship them off to PSA. But this is more so just like what to look for, so you don't waste your time or money. You know, you don't want to send bad cards or you know, cards that are not centered or whatever. So yeah, hopefully I can do some more videos like this. But drop them in the comments. Anything you want to see, card related stuff. I play a lot of Lorcana myself, so this channel will probably have a lot of gameplay of myself playing Lorcana. I do collect Pokemon and sell Pokemon. I don't play the game, but I do send a lot of Pokemon to get graded. So if there's any questions, like I said, drop them in the comments, and I greatly appreciate you. This is the first of hopefully many videos in the TCG playing / grading YouTube area. So we'll see what happens. Hope y'all have a good day, and if you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. Thanks.